our families here tonight to share their story. And Team Drew's crew includes a family, his friends and neighbors traveling from Chicago and New York. The inspiration for this is Drew, and Drew is 5 years old and he's got acute lymphoblastic leukemia. He came to St. Jude in 2013, and you know, it's very, very cool for me to be able to tell you that his mom and his dad are going to run the half marathon tomorrow in honor of Drew. They also helped generate support for St. Jude with the Hope in the Hamptons event, which has raised more than $500,000. So I want to welcome to the stage and ask you all to give a warm welcome to Drew's mother, Shawna.
This is a very overwhelming experience to look out on you. I'm Shawna, and I'm the mom of Drew. I think the goal for me to talk to you tonight is to let you know what it's like to be a parent of a child with cancer. Our story started actually in 2012. My husband and I went to a convention center just like this in Chicago. I went to a fundraiser for St. Jude, and we learned about pediatric cancer and red wagons. We sat listening to a woman tell her story about running her hand through her son's hair as it fell out, about how when your kid is diagnosed with cancer, you find a way to get to St. Jude. And we sat there, and I was pregnant with my daughter, and I looked at my husband and I said, "Can you imagine? What if that was true?" And a year later it was. In June 2013, 8 days before his 3rd birthday, our son was diagnosed with leukemia. It is a nightmare. It is scary. And you pray a lot. And then you pray more. My husband and I wiped our tears a little bit away and said, "Do you remember that fundraiser we went to? What about St. Jude?" Because we were living in New York, and that's a pretty far stretch to Memphis. We made some phone calls, and we found out we had about a 2-hour window to decide, because the staff was going to be done with work on a Friday. And it was the easiest decision of our life, and we moved to Memphis. We walked into the halls of St. Jude, and it truly is the most hopeful place on earth. It was so different than the hospital we were in. It was sterile and cold. Those first few weeks of your child being diagnosed is a whirlwind, and it's scary, and it's painful. He threw up more than I could possibly imagine. Our little boy turned 3 and lost about 3 pounds, and then 2 more. There's moments that stand out for you as a parent. The scariest moment of my life was one night when we were staying in the hospital, when he was early in diagnosis. We hadn't left the room. And it was the middle of the night, and I crawled in bed with him because his breathing was very sporadic, and his pulse ox was going crazy. And I was pushing the emergency button for the nurse to come in. I was so scared. Those are the moments you pray. You pray so hard. God, don't take him. This is not his time. Don't. Please, God, I'll do anything. I'll never forget that. And it was a very long night. I was afraid to fall asleep because if I closed my eyes, what if something happened? Those are the scary nights and scary days. But St. Jude took care of our son better than anybody you could imagine. You take your son and you lay them in their arms and say, save his life. And they're doing it, and they're saving his life. There's moments at St. Jude that are so joyful. There's a special person there called Music Amy. And there was a day where my son woke up from a spinal tap, and he was very nauseous, very sad, very hungry, but he couldn't leave yet because he still needed another 3-hour blood transfusion. And he looked at me as he was barfing in a bag, and he said, at the raw age of 4 years old, Mommy, this isn't fair. I said, you're right, it's not. And Music Amy came in, and she was so special. Hang on. She's so special that Drew didn't want to see her, but she came in anyway. And she put some music instruments out, and she coaxed him out of his nausea. It was 1 in the afternoon. He hadn't eaten all day and couldn't eat. And wouldn't eat. And she got him to come out of that by playing a little on a ukulele and playing on a guitar. And she made the difference. She made my son feel better. And that's something you don't get someplace else. That's something special just at St. Jude. So there's moments like that that I'll never forget, that I'm so grateful to St. Jude just for bringing joy to my child. Last year, at this run, I attended the run with another family. It was a family I had met while our children were doing a craft at one of the awesome volunteer tables that are always set up at St. Jude to pass the time when you're waiting for your chemo. He was also 4, so this was perfect. Our kids were going to play and be great. I attended the run last year in memory of their son, who will forever be 4. Something I'll never forget that his mom, Lisa, said to me. I knew I prayed one night for God, several nights, for God never to take my son. Her son was so sick that she had to make the prayer one night. It's okay, God, you can take him. And that's a prayer no parent should ever have to pray. Because she knew that was the only way he was going to find peace. Because for some of these cancers, there aren't cures. I attended the race to help her family. And while I was here, I said, I need to be a part of this. This is awesome. This is so big. So I committed to run. God did not build me as a runner. Running is hard and painful, especially when you're feeling a little bit older. And there were days I did not want to get up and run. I didn't. But there were so many days Drew didn't want to go into the hospital and get poked in the chest and get another boo-boo. So I would think of that and lace up my shoes. Running gives you a lot of time to think. Boy, can your mind go a lot of places when you're doing 12 miles. So I would think, what are my steps for? What am I really running for? I'd like to share that with you. I took steps for every of the 200 doses of steroids my son has taken. For all of the 150 plus times he's been stuck with a needle in his chest. The countless number of times he threw up or I caught barf or lean back while driving, catching barf. It's quite a talent. Over 50 nights in the hospital, over 20 transfusions of red blood and platelets, at least 18 spinal taps and bone marrow aspirates into his hip, several MRIs and EKGs and bone scans, 3 birthdays, and 1 surgery. That's why I'm running. When you think during your run, there's another hill, and I'm gonna walk this one, count the next 150 steps. It actually is a long time because I do it on my run. 150 times he's been poked. It'll take you really far, and you'll be above that hill, no problem. We have 6 more weeks to go in our chemo treatment. And I'm thrilled that my son is doing so well. And we are here because there are some children who aren't, and there still aren't cures. And that is why we've committed to St. Jude. When someone's saving your kid's life, you'll do everything you can to help save the next child's life. Running is hard, but so is cancer. I'm very proud, I'm very honored, I'm very humbled to be in this room with you. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart down to my toes for every dollar you've raised and for every bit of awareness that you have brought to somebody who maybe didn't know. You guys are awesome heroes. Thank you.
I'm ready to run right now. Wow, Shawna, that was absolutely amazing. Something that you said that really struck me, I don't want any parent to ever have to pray those words that you heard one of your friends say, that it's okay, God, you can take him. That's what we're all here for, guys. Because no parent should ever pray that prayer. No parent. Shawna, thank you for sharing your story. Absolutely incredibly inspirational. I guarantee you I'll be counting 150 steps and thinking about all those things that you just said as an inspiration tomorrow. And 2,500 other people are going to do the exact same thing. God bless you. And we're praying for Drew on his last 6 weeks too. God bless. Okay, so let's do the awards. So let's recognize our top individual fundraisers. So please come to the stage at the end of the program to receive